Okay, these are two ways of finding the estimated area of an irregular shape. One, if you've got an irregular shape that looks a bit like a triangle, map a triangle onto it. Make sure there's some on the outside, so outside the triangle, and some outside the shape. And if those two, the dots and the lines, balance up, you're going to be pretty close. Then you have to measure this triangle. The area is the base times the height. You've got to measure the vertical height and the base. I've just guessed these at 9 and 10. The area of a triangle is 9 times 10 over 2, base times height over 2, and it's in centimetres squared. Don't worry about that. Now, another way of estimating the shape, the area of the shape, is to use Simpson's rule. Now, Simpson's rule is a bit strange. The actual rule is this: the area is W over 3. W is the width between the lines you draw on the shape, and the lines we start at L0. So we go L0, L1, L2. We don't know where we finish, so we finish with the nth line. If that's the 10th line, this one's the 9th one, or one less. If that's the 9th one, this one's the 8th one, or two less. So we say Ln, Ln take 1, Ln take 2. Now when we finish off Simpson's rule, we've got to put coefficients in front of that, and they form a pattern. 1 times, 4 times, 2 times, and then it goes 4, 2, 4, 2. So when we go backwards, it looks the same as this: 1 times, 4 times, 2 times. So that's what Simpson's rule looks like. Okay? Now, that's the rule. Now let's just have a look at a quick example. So if we have a look at page 189, example 11. Page 189, EG 11. So here's some odd looking shape. Okay, now here are the lines when we draw them on here. The first line is there, and the last line doesn't really exist. It's over there. Okay, so the last line has no length. So Lex, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So now we draw a straight line in the middle. It's as straight as I can get it. Now, they've got here, the first line is 6 metres. The next line is 7 metres. The next line is 9 metres. Don't worry if these don't actually match up. The next line is 6.5 metres. And the next line is 6.5 metres. Now I'll just make that a bit longer. So they look, I'm just trying to make them all look roughly evenly spaced. Now, the distance between those lines is always the same. And in this case, in the example, the distance is 5 metres. And these lines are at right angles. Now look, that's fairly easy to do if you've got grid paper, right? Now, when I set this question in the test, I'm going to give you a shape and I'm going to see if you can draw that up yourself. It's okay, we need a little bit of practice of that, but that's in your practice test. Now, but let's just have a look. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. When you have a look at the other questions, the one above it, there are 4 spaces. The one on the other side, there are 2 spaces. So there are 2 spaces, 4 spaces. This one has 6 spaces. If you flip the page, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have 4 spaces, 2 spaces, 6 spaces, 4 spaces. The spaces are always even, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. Do you understand what I mean by the spaces? So that's always an even number. And if that's always an even number, let's check the lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's always an odd number of lines. Even spaces, odd number of lines. Now it's a little bit confusing because if we start with L0, then this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it will look like there's an even number of lines because we always end in an even number. So it's not an even number of lines, it always ends. That one will always be an even number. And the reason it'll be even because we start with 0. Now, we have to substitute those things into the equation. Now this, unfortunately, I didn't write it down, was 3 metres. The distance between the gaps is 5 metres. So the area is approximately equal to, so it should be approximately equal to, 5 over 3. And now I write the lines down. 3, 6, 7, 9, 6.5, 6.5, 0. Now I put the coefficients in. 1 times, 4 times, 2 times, 4 times, 2 times, 4 times. Now the last one is always 1. Okay? Now what do we do with those numbers? We add them up. So you just put that entire thing in your calculator, work it out in one hit, and you should get 200 metres, about 200 metres squared.